Hello everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time to attend the webinar. My name is Karolina Kolova, and I am a Senior Account Executive at Transmetrics, the AI-based platform that redefines the logistics and transportation industry. This webinar will be recorded, so you have the chance to watch it later for reference if you need to, and if you find it insightful. The topic of our webinar today is how to leverage artificial intelligence for logistics, a quick guide. In this webinar, we will discuss the main challenges that the logistics industry is facing right now, how they can be tackled by using artificial intelligence, and what benefits such technologies can bring to your specific business. But before we start discussing artificial intelligence, let's first put it in context and look around what's happening in the industry right now. It is a striking statistic that the voyage for a container from Asia to the US usually takes just 2 weeks, and at the moment it is taking about 10 weeks. This means that even if some of the Christmas presents left at the beginning of November, we are still not sure whether we will receive them under the Christmas tree on time. Companies are trying to do something about this. Like, for example, Amazon is determined to save Christmas at any cost. They've increased ports of entry across their network by 50%, and Amazon also doubled their container processing capacity. But whether those measures will bring to positive results, we'll know after the end of the Christmas hustle, basically. And this supply chain disruption and the increasing demand for the transportation of different goods, as well as the inability to handle the whole demand, is not affecting only the container shipping lines industry. It's also affecting the parcel delivery companies. For example, since the pandemic started, truck drivers have been scarce, and they also must contend with new delivery protocols. Also, they are obliged to take different COVID-19 tests, for example, every now and then. There are new movement restrictions, long hours of waiting, etc. And of course, this also affects the delivery of parcels. Because of this, it is not surprised that the phrase supply chain was mentioned more than 3,000 times on investor calls just in Q3. And those supply chain issues, they're unavoidable, not only for the logistics and transportation companies, but also for manufacturers like Nike, for example. And this leads us to wondering, why is this happening? Even big publications like the New Yorker are also putting more emphasis on the supply chain disruption. So here I would like to ask you, and you can answer in the chat, what are the main challenges that your company is facing right now? And the challenges that you experience. Okay, so you can take your time and answer in the chat, and we can, after this, basically comment more on this during the Q&A session. But in today's session, I've tried to capture the main challenges in the logistics industry right now and the most significant ones. So let's start with the first one. Lack of visibility into operations is one of the most important challenges as of today, because companies are usually using legacy systems, some old systems and some tools like Microsoft Excel, for example, with limited capabilities. And because of this, very often the data is not of good quality, and there are some errors in the data, missing points, etc., which leads to lack of data utilization. And in the end of the day, the planners are not making data-driven decisions. Another very significant problem and challenge right now are the trade imbalances happening globally. Since the start of the pandemic, basically the e-commerce boom is more visible than ever. And this leads to lack of agility, because the need for available empty containers in China, for instance, is growing every day, but the availability is limited. The third challenge is the continuous pressure on the workforce, which is again very closely related to the e-commerce boom. So because of this, basically the Christmas hustle and bustle as well as Black Friday are busier, and maybe the busiest than ever this year. And because of this, workers are overloaded. Also, when their co-workers test positive for COVID, they also need to take their workload, and this leads to continuous pressure on the workforce. The overutilization of assets is something else that's happening right now because companies are trying to meet the ever-increasing demand at any cost. And because of this, sometimes they overuse the assets, which leads to maintenance failures and unexpected downtowns, which in the long term, again, affects satisfying the demand of the customers. The last challenge I captured today is the increasing emissions from the logistics and transportation industry. According to a report by the MIT, if business continues as usual, freight will become the #1 emitting sector by 2050 in the world. This obviously puts additional pressure on companies to do something about it and to act upon. And then companies start asking themselves, okay, so how can I change this? How can I reduce the carbon dioxide emissions while I also have operational excellence, satisfy the customer's demand, and save costs along the way? And the answer to this question is by utilizing artificial intelligence. So let me first ask you, what is artificial intelligence for you? On the bottom right, you can actually find a poll so that you can go there and vote. We've include some options. You can go there. Okay. Okay, take your time to vote. Okay. So I see that you already started voting for a tool to improve operational performance. There are also other options, like we also included the option something that is hard to grasp, but I'm very happy to see that most of you are responding that it is a tool to improve operational performance, because in essence, AI really cannot be put into frames. It cannot be defined with just one sentence, because the main goal of AI is to help companies to automate part of their operations and to really improve the operational performance by helping planners to do more and make more data-driven decisions in the end of the day. From our expertise in Transmetrics, we look at artificial intelligence as in the form of augmented intelligence, or as the right tool set for the logistics industry. So in this sense, we do not replace the humans, for example. We just make their job much easier and data-driven. We keep the role of the logistics planner because he or she have the customer service level of knowledge, the domain knowledge, the responsibility and the ethics to make the day-to-day operational decisions. However, on the other side, we have the artificial intelligence in the co-pilot seat, because artificial intelligence algorithms are able to handle big data models in real time and to create unbiased predictions in such a way in which the human mind is simply not capable of doing. So the overall goal in the end of the day is for AI to enhance the work of the planners and make it more data-driven. So how does AI work? The basic goal of artificial intelligence is to enable computers and machines to perform intellectual tasks. For example, we are talking about problem solving, decision making, perception, and understanding human communication. Specific applications of artificial intelligence vary a lot based on the industry and on the sector, but it includes expert systems, natural language processing, speech recognitions, neural networks, and machine learning as well. AI works by combining large amounts of data with very fast, intelligent algorithms, which allows the software to learn automatically from patterns in the past and from some features in the data. And then it can automatically apply those patterns to the future and make predictions. It is a very interesting statistic that currently only 17% of logistics companies use artificial intelligence in their operations. But this number is actually expected to grow to 62% by 2026. So this huge leap into this percentage shows that companies would start realizing how important artificial intelligence is, as well as the digitalization of their operations. And now when we started discussing these interesting statistics, I'm really curious to understand whether your business is open to the adoption of new tools and technology for supply chain innovation. And again, you can reply in the poll on the right. I'm waiting for your replies. Okay, I saw you already started replying. Okay. Okay, great. So some of you replied that you invest when you have to, which is also very interesting, because most of the companies that start investing now will be actually the proactive ones that are moving the industry ahead. And I see that 57% of you replied that you're slow as a company and tough to adapt, which is something completely normal, especially judging by the statistics that only 70% of the logistics companies use AI today. So don't worry, that's something completely normal. And hopefully by the end of this webinar, I will provide you with more insights regarding how you can start adapting those technologies. Okay. So when we discuss this, let's move to what benefits of integrating artificial intelligence in logistics can actually bring for you and why it is worth it. So when you are discussing the benefits, obviously it depends a lot based on which sector you operate in, whether you would like to automate this part of your operations or another part of your operations. So in today's session, I've tried to capture some different examples within the sectors to show you what benefits you can expect. The first one is the data quality enrichment through machine learning algorithms. So as mentioned before, usually companies use legacy systems, so the data is not very good quality, although the logistics and transportation sector generate a huge amount of data as of today. But with the help of machine learning, this can actually be overcome. With the help of machine learning algorithms, the data can handle much more variables, so they can be analyzed, the quality of the data can be auto-improved. And then in the end of the day, you have a cleaner data set. This synergy between man and the machine leads to the enriched data I just mentioned. And having enriched data is vital because it can help your company determine the precise amount of people and assets, and to also get the most out of the historical reporting. In addition to machine learning and computer optimization, natural language processing is another helpful process that can enrich your data further. For example, at Transmetrics, we worked on a project for one of our customers. And there was a problem with the data set because one and the same commodity was spelled in two different ways. One of the examples was with the word wine. So on one side, at several places, the word was spelled in English, and on some other places, the word was spelled in German. So this led to data set which wasn't with good enough information, because basically those commodities are one and the same thing, but they were considered as different things because of the spelling of the word. So natural language processing can help in those situations, and it can enrich your data and overcome those problems. When discussing enriched data, it is very important for companies to also get as much data as possible real time. And this is why many companies turn to the AI-powered Internet of Things and the telematics analytics. The Internet of Things connects everything at once, while artificial intelligence considers multiple factors at once. This leads to one source of truth for all the people working in the company. Also, the result is an overall better resource management, and it provides a sizable amount of data points that can be after this processed by the intelligent algorithms. This also lays the foundation for the predictive analytics space and demand forecasting. Some examples by using IoT and telematics includes the predictions for more effective roads, also ways to mitigate fuel consumptions, as well as warnings for the drivers of bottlenecks to promote more effective trajectories in the end of the day. Another very interesting example, which also combines IoT and telematics, is the predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance is the next logical step after the preventive maintenance, which many companies are using right now. The main goal of predictive maintenance is to inform the companies where and when service is needed, even before the breakdown occurs, but not too early, because underutilization of assets also costs a lot of money to the company. At Transmetrics, we are currently working on a project like this for a trailer leasing company. We are forecasting the optimal maintenance moment based on the current road, the vendor availability, and the price. And in the end of the day, the companies can save time, money, and the tool leaves little room for error. And the predictive maintenance tool can be implemented not only to trailers and trucks on the road, but also to any kind of assets like containers, for example. And now, as I mentioned containers, AI can be used for the predictive container management as well, and it can bring enormous benefits to the shipping lines. By using predictive container management, companies can expect the prediction regarding the correct number of assets at all locations, at all times, up to several weeks in advance. This leads to the decreasing of the total number of assets that are needed for the transport by reducing the number of idle containers that are just sitting at the port. Instead, those idle containers are directed to locations where an increased demand is expected to occur in the following weeks. Transmetrics Predictive Container Management software is an excellent example here because we've been experts in this industry for the past couple of years. It ultimately leads to improved efficiencies and also to lower operational costs. For some of our customers, we managed to achieve around 30% reduction in the storage costs for logistics, for empty container logistics, and around 10% reduction in overall logistics costs for empty containers. Now, I would like to give another interesting example for benefiting AI in the industry, and it is the so-called AI for autonomy. This includes basically the self-driving vehicles, collaborative robots, drones, and also advanced sorting systems that are used in the warehouses. The result of using AI for autonomy is the better management at a warehouse, all while providing valuable data to the logistics companies on how to continually increase efficiency in their day-to-day operations. Einride is a Swedish-based company which works with retailers like Lidl, and it provides their autonomous trucks to logistics service providers like DB Schenker, for example. So now, after I mentioned to you the benefits that you can expect from using this, now we can actually ask ourselves the following question: but how do I actually start? It sounds good, but AI is, as some of you mentioned, something that is rough for me to understand. So I'm interested in receiving the benefits, but how can I actually start utilizing those technologies when I have no experience? So to answer these questions, we prepared for you like a 3-pillar guide, which you can follow just as a starting point. And the first pillar is to assess the need or to understand why you need artificial intelligence. But the very first question would be, do I need artificial intelligence in the first place to start with? For example, if I founded a company 3 years ago and I own currently and operate 15 trucks and the network is not very big, most probably I can make the predictions myself and I can do the planning and everything manually, and I don't need artificial intelligence at this point. However, it is always a good idea to start thinking about those technologies now for when you start growing your business more and more, so that you can continue meeting your customers' demand. In case your network is already complex and the planning is hindered and you want to optimize your operations, then the next question that you need to ask yourself is, what do I need artificial intelligence for? Would I optimize the processing in my warehouse space, or do I want to forecast the numbers of containers needed at the different locations? So it really depends what you need AI for, and it also helps to imagine the perfect situation for you. The third question is, what are the main pain points in my organization, or where do I struggle the most? What I want to change in my future operations to perform better? And by the way, we'll post in the chat now an analysis, a questionnaire regarding your AI readiness. So you can click on it and fill it in after the webinar. I think it can definitely help you assess the need and how you can proceed further as a first step. It's created by Transmetrics, so feel free to find it in the chat and to fill it in for yourself. And then after you complete the analysis phases, which is so important, we move forward to the second pillar, mainly the allocation of the budget. That's very important because basically by utilizing artificial intelligence, you can expect a lot of savings as mentioned. And you save time, you save money, you improve your operational efficiency, so the benefits are enormous for your company. However, it's good to understand that you also need to allocate a budget for utilizing those technologies. The good thing is that the return on investment usually happens very fast. And the third pillar is to find the right partner and the solution, or the right solution. So the word right might sound a bit subjective. So what I mean by the right partner, this would be the partner that is an expert and has the IT expertise to create the solution for you, to make it handle all the variables your business has, all the business constraints that are present at your specific business. So this is something very important. And the second point would be for your provider to speak your language or to have experience with handling data of the logistics sector. And also something else that would be useful would be if your partner has worked in the past with companies within the sector and within the industry. Because as mentioned, speaking your language is very important for creating the right solution for your needs. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I see that there are some more comments in the chat to which I will refer right now. But now also feel free to ask me any questions you might have in the chat. You also see my email on the screen, so feel free to reach out to me after this webinar as well to discuss further. I'll be very glad to also help with the analysis phases regarding how to start utilizing those technologies. And now let me look at the questions. Okay. So we have a question. Can I understand what is happening behind the AI algorithms, or is that a black box? So basically, when I'm speaking from the expertise in Transmetrics, so when we are building the algorithms, before doing this is why I mentioned that the analysis phase is super important for you. So when we do the analysis phase, we decide exactly what kind of AI algorithms need to be fine-tuned to your specific needs, to your specific business constraints. So because, for example, even if you operate in the same sector as another company, your constraints and variables might be different. So the AI algorithms need to also be adjusted to this. And usually, in the software as a service space, you log in and you can see everything written very understandable and clear to you and the logistics planners. And in the chat, I see that Michael commented that one of the biggest challenges for them right now is having the right amount of assets at the right place and time, talking about row cages and containers. And yes, definitely, this is one of the biggest challenges happening in the industry right now. Companies are struggling with this a lot. So Michael, I would welcome you to also maybe send me an email so that we can discuss a bit more, because this is exactly one of the fields in which Transmetrics is an expert in the sphere. So I'll be happy to discuss more. But this is definitely one of the most serious challenges. Where to relocate your assets, how to handle customers' demand with the amount of assets that you currently have, etc. And Matthias also commented that, again, empty container pickups is a major concern in congested ports like Los Angeles and Long Beach and elsewhere. Well, yeah, thank you, Matthias, for reminding me. This is one of the most striking examples that in November there were around 75 ships loaded with containers and waiting to offload the cargo in Los Angeles and Long Beach, which is really striking. So definitely. But Let is commenting also that some of the challenges are long delivery times, order processing complications, info blindness between all parties, Exactly. This is why it's also very important to have one source of truth, because now what's happening is that some of the workers, for example, are using one Excel sheet and another one is using another one, different format. And of course, this leads to inconsistency in the data. And when the data is not enriched, when there are errors in the data, after all, the decisions that are being made are not done in the best way in the end of the day. And I see another question that we had. Okay, just a second. Are you partnering with TMS systems providers or directly with end customers? From Michael, question. Thank you for the question. So as of today, we have some established partnerships and some we basically know the biggest players in the TMS space as well. However, usually this is no problem for us. I mean, Transmetrics is I would say we are very easy to integrate and to connect to your system via API or other connection if needed. So no matter what the TMS is, in most of the cases, we are able to connect, to extract all the information, to analyze it, to how to improve the quality of the data. And I would say we have quite a wide experience working with different types of TMS systems, ERP systems, etc. And I also see another question. We had a negative experience with a big technology provider when implementing a new solution, which was also a costly one. Do you have an advice on how to ensure the quality of the project beyond what you mentioned? Yes, so basically, when working with big technology providers, the tricky part is that sometimes when analyzing logistics data, it is different than just analyzing data from another sector. The data points in the logistics industry, they're huge, and not every big technology provider is experienced in analyzing this amount of data and this kind of data. This is why it is very important to basically choose the right provider who also has already done this, who has already analyzed and enriched the very complex logistics data. Because if you think about it, planning is a very complex process with razor-thin margins. So in order to have an accurate forecast regarding how many assets you need at the different locations, how to optimize your operations, you undoubtedly also need the proper analysis of the data. So this is why it's very important to choose the right provider. And in the chat, we have a comment from Peter. How does it work actually? Does the algorithm takes just historical data and calculate it, or also weather forecast and other important information? Thank you for your question. So one of the, I guess here you're referring regarding Transmetrics container management software, AI-based software. So the algorithm takes the historical data on one side. So we connect to the TMS. As I mentioned, we are very flexible. We connect to the transport management system of your company. We extract the data, we analyze the data, how to improve the quality, and we need usually at least 2 years of historical data. And then it doesn't just stop there. There is an everyday AI loop in which we are getting the data, because this is one of the best parts of AI actually. The more time you use the system, the more it works, so the better it becomes. And we take this historical data because, as mentioned, the strong, powerful AI algorithms are able to detect the patterns, the MP pickup patterns, for example, and apply those patterns to the future. And this is how the forecast is built. However, on the other side, we also consider external data. We partner with different external data providers. The weather forecast, thank you for mentioning it. It is extremely important, especially for the sailing schedules of the shipping lines. So we can take the weather forecast, also some other external factors like how Black Friday or the Christmas hustle will affect the demand and those factors. And this comes again at the analysis phases, because the external factors we need to take into account for shipping lines can vary between the shipping lines, and also if you're having a parcel business, your external factors might be different. This is why our practice is usually that we discuss with our customers a lot. We decide what variables are important to them, what external factors, because after all, as mentioned, especially in the logistics and in handling data in the logistics industry, it's very important to analyze the data in the correct way and to have the expertise in analyzing such data. Just checking whether we have some more questions. Okay. Well, at this point of time, I don't see more questions. And since we mentioned on our events page and on LinkedIn that this event will be around 30 minutes, I want to be respectful of your time because I know of you are busy with your day-to-day operations. So I would like to thank you so much for joining us. You can again see my email in the chat, and I would be very, very happy if you send me an email. We can talk, we can discuss. I'll help you with the analysis phases. And thank you again for joining this webinar. I hope you found it insightful, and I hope to see you all soon. And since it's December, I also want to wish you very happy celebrations of the holiday season. Thank you again.